backlash against family planning. I was curious about you guys talking about that and discussing the backlash and what that's like in developing regions. Or how about you guys developing the country as well?
Sure. Well, so the Sierra Sustainability is a domestic organization, and we work domestically on international issues through advocacy. So we're not on the ground. We don't actually have programs in any of the countries. There are various forms of backlash. Some of them are sometimes religious, sometimes cultural, but because we're an environmental organization, I don't personally get a lot of anti-family planning messages directed at me or at the program that I work with, but certainly we do see them. Some are specifically religious, and that there are religious reasons not to have access to family planning, and then there are counters to those. So there are a couple of religious organizations such as Catholics for Choice, the Methodist Church, the Unitarian Universalist Church, a lot of other organizations like those, as well as a few Islamic organizations that are pro-choice, and so they have directives and messages that talk about how, according to their scriptures, it's more important that you have healthy children that you're able to take care of than too many children that you leave hungry and can't provide for. So I'm not as familiar or educated with some of those messaging systems because we don't deal with those directly, I would say. But certainly there is some, and it's important. The Vatican has incredible influence over the UN. Last year was Rio Plus 20, which was the 20-year anniversary of the first Rio conference in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in which they talked about the environment, and there was a huge push to get family planning on the discussions and out of the conventions that were written, and the Vatican was able to stop it. And much to the chagrin and disappointment of a lot of organizations that were there and the family planning community generally, because the impact of that is so profound. So certainly there's a lot of anti-reproductive health, but I guess the other side that I could say is with regards to politics in this country, there are some politicians that are anti-abortion. So the pushback to that is that we need to provide family planning so that women don't need an abortion in the first place. So there is also that anti-choice sentiment, and some of those politicians who have come out as very strongly against abortions actually are some of the in some very rare cases, some of the strongest advocates for access to other forms of contraception.
Well, the new Pope has come out very much in favor of women's rights, and much less stress on these old things that have made life difficult in those countries that are primarily Catholic.
Yeah.
As far as locally, we've had a little bit of pushback even on campus, with passing out condoms and talking about reproductive rights in a progressive way, in a favorable way. Talking about access to abortion, access to contraceptives, and there are a lot of people on campus that don't like it. There's even some student organizations that advocate the other way, that are anti-abortion. I don't know how they feel about birth control or contraceptives, but there's a lot of religious reasoning behind, I think, that movement, and also some political stuff that we've had to deal with in pretty recent legislation. But overall, I think the majority of people realize the need for at least contraceptives, and so we're happy to be able to have organizations like Planned Parenthood and the Sierra Club that give us, that sponsor us to have condoms to pass out on campus and things like that. And the thing that surprised me a lot with our just on-campus activism is sometimes we'll table and put out condoms and candy and flyers and things to let people know about our events coming up. And I personally have noticed that there has been a lot of negative reaction, just in body language and facial expressions, and we'll say free condoms, we're not trying to be creepy or perverted, we're just trying to give you some things for free. that might be helpful. And people have really seemed to act like kind of appalled by it and embarrassed, and we've even gone so far as to like put them inside goodie bags that like where they're discreet, you know, and they might be like, we might just have some like candy and flyers and condoms and things inside the goodie bag, that way people don't have to be seen taking them. But it's just really interesting that sort of mentality still exists on a college campus, you know, where people, obviously a lot of the people are sexually active, not all, and that's totally fine too. But it's just been an interesting response that I didn't necessarily anticipate.
By the way, there are a bunch on that page, and they're judgment free if you want them.
And if those run out, we have more. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions?
So the video kind of talked about how we're people are pushing to get, or I think it was like talking about trying to get more clinics or something, so people could go to get condoms or whatever. But I feel like a big part of the issue, like they said, is like some climate, they're running out of water and enough water. I mean, do you know of any, like, are people trying to get like wells there and things like that? So, like, I don't know, I thought it was kind of sad that one of the women said that, you know, her and her husband wanted to have more kids, but they didn't want to bring more kids into a situation where they couldn't take care of them because they don't have running water or like be able to get food. You know what I mean? So
yeah, a lot of places, water's not free. It's not free here either, actually. We kind of forget that we pay taxes on it, but in other places you have to pay when you get the water. So even if there's a well, it may not actually increase access. So in the case of the woman in Peru, she was saying that they couldn't put running water into their home because they didn't have the money to do so. So there are a number of things influencing access to water. One is that there isn't enough potable water in the first place, that a lot of water is polluted. We're part of that. Fracking in this country is obviously increasing the pollution to water locally, and I think that's happening here too.
Absolutely.
So just in our own backyard. So one is the issue that you have to walk further and further to get it because the water that's nearby your house is already dried up or it's not potable in the first place. But then there's the money aspect, and that even if you build a well, you might not be able to access the water that's in the well because you have to pay to do so. So it's multifaceted. Those are just two examples. There are others. Safety is another. If a woman has to walk to get water, she puts her life in danger because the further she walks from home, the more at risk she is of getting abducted, raped, and murdered. And there is research about that, and the same is true for firewood. If you go into the forest, the further you are from your own community and your own home, the more likely you are to put yourself in danger, unfortunately. For many women in the world, that's a reality. So even if there's clean drinking water and it's nearby, there might be protection over it, or whether that's military or financial or whatever. So then again, you're putting another barrier.
And the slide that Naomi showed where there were several wedges, and they represented different sources for carbon emissions, and there was this large raise. You know, by adding family planning and giving these women the family planning capabilities that they're asking for, that takes out one of those wedges, but this is definitely a multifaceted issue, and there are all these other issues too, which, you know, I don't know if any of you are in the sustainability minor here or not, but some of you are, I know. You know, if any of you are interested in that, they have a great program, and you can learn a lot about all of the issues in sustainability and carbon emissions, and learn how to, you know, make a huge impact. But some of the things that we talked about earlier, just riding your bike and, you know, limiting your water use, and, you know, getting involved in sustainable initiatives and lobbying for energy efficient, you know, energy in the United States. All these things really have an impact to lower those other wedges, and so it's definitely something that you have to be conscious of in more than just one area. You definitely are advocating for the family planning to be increased, but we need to be conscious in all these areas too.
other things you guys not mentioning about those people in those countries with little water, many of them also have very poor soil, or the woman was speaking about erosion, completely cleared off, and that happens even here. And the big battle in Bell is sustainable food, and the effort you guys work with the effort to have urban farming, and that's possible in areas of Fayetteville. Still, many places around the edge of the city, not up on the hills, it's not so good, or the steep slopes, but you've got deep, rich, black prairie soil surrounds this town, and there are apartment complexes being built there, and the water will never soak in there again in the foreseeable future. There will never be any soil that you can actually raise food on in those places. And that's one of the things they have over in many of those countries that are suffering, that we're talking about, and the women have to suffer so much because it won't just grow the way it does in a really rich area.
Yeah, sustainable agriculture is an entire science in itself, and in order to rejuvenate the soil, you have to know about science, and you have to know how to put the nutrients back in the soil. You have to have water to grow the plants, and it's all a very complex discussion.
Yeah. So like Naomi said, women are resource managers around the world, and so giving them access to control their own families is like one step in helping them better manage the resources that they do have. So yeah, so this is one strategy. There are obviously a lot of issues at play, including resource depletion. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Or? Yeah.
Over there, if anyone is interested in getting our newsletters, we will not blow up your inbox, I promise. We just send out information about our events. So feel free to sign up if you want to take some popcorn to go or whatever. Thanks for coming.
Consider joining the Sierra Club.
They shouldn't go to the theater, so I went and walked.
Well, that's what I heard. I put that sign up there on the stairs. I don't know if you shared that information. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
I great job for that.
Learned a teacher told us
I'm for extra credit. She had a union there, and so there's probably some people like couldn't find it. But I put that sign way out there.
The documentation here wasn't very hot, isn't it? Right. And it wasn't there either, and so I ended up trying to look for a job here.